So, any confusion, anything you want to revisit? Online people. Chaliye, fine. So, we had started a new chapter, changing international political order. We had understood one thing called Cold War. Cold War को हमने समझा था, it was a war of ideas. Remember the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So that was a war that was going on because Karl Marx predicted in his theory of revolution, and particularly in his theory of class struggle. He argued that history of all hitherto society has been the history of class struggles, and capitalism became antithesis to feudalism, replaced it, and became synthesis. But it was not a perfect synthesis, so it was challenged by communism. And Karl Marx believed that communism make all class conflicts will end, and that's why it is the end point of history. Because that was the war going on. Cold War was a war to prove who is the synthesis. Either capitalism is a synthesis or communism is a synthesis. That the war was going on ultimately. So it has number of phases. Let's see the phases. Phase one. Phase one में आप कह सकते हैं बिफोर कोल्ड वॉर, सॉरी बिफोर एंडिंग ऑफ द वर्ल्ड वॉर. Before ending of the world war there was a lot of thing going on from generally this phase को हम count करते हैं from 1917 to 1945. That is the at the end of the first world war to the second world war's end. 1917 में we know why we are considering from 1917, because 1917 में American में the Woodrow Wilson was the president, and he gave a speech, 14-point speech, in which he argued over few points that how the world order shall be remade. अगर आपको याद हो, we discussed that. And he gave the concept of, what was the concept in 14-point speech? Collective security. He gave other concepts also. There's a collective security, including he talked about freedom of navigation, spread of democracies. These were the 14 points, and they're still the common sense of the international world even today that we know. So what happened in this phase? You can say it was a situational miscalculation, because 1917 a revolution came in Russia, and Russia became communist. The Lenin's idea, थोड़ा सा हम इसका डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. लेनिन पेपर वन की बात. तो लेनिन यू विल स्टडी इन पेपर वन में इडियोलॉजीज में मार्क्सिस्ट आफ्टर मार्क्स, सोशलिस्ट आफ्टर मार्क्स एंड मार्क्सिस्ट आफ्टर मार्क्स, दो पैरामीटर्स होते हैं. एंड मार्क्सिस्ट आफ्टर मार्क्स में यू विल डिस्कस लेनिन एंड माओ. ठीक है, पेपर वन में. बट लेट्स डिस्कस लेनिन हियर. So Lenin changed something. What was the biggest change he brought in Marxism? Communist Party. That was the biggest change. Because remember, Karl Marx said that a class in itself will transform to class for itself when they will develop revolutionary consciousness, which has two components we know already. Component number one, objective experience. Component number two, subjective realization. But Lenin did not But Lenin did not believe so. Lenin was of the opinion that what Karl Marx said, these are known as orthodox Marxists. Remember, there are two kinds of Marxists, orthodox and you can say new Marxist or philosopher. So the people who believe in Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, where he talked about theory of revolution, communism, they are known as orthodox Marxists because they believe Marx is God, and he's, I think irony, hai na? Marx is a person who said that there is no God. Basically, they said religion is the opium of masses, and Karl Marx popularly said God is dead, basically. Or he himself became the god of communism. So ये common चलता रहता है. Same problem we saw in Buddhism. अगर आपको पता हो, when Buddhism was founded, Buddha never considered himself as God. Buddha is known as agnostic. Agnostic matlab the people who neither say there is God nor they say there is no God. Atheists are the people who say there is no God. Theistic are the people who say there is God. The person in between who neither confirms God nor denies God. Buddha was that person. But nonetheless, he himself became a god later on. Actually, it was a ploy of the Brahmins. मैंने आपको बताया था, the biggest challenge, if you can create this parallel. India के केस में Brahmanism is considered like capitalism, the more controlling dominant authority, and it was challenged by Buddhism the way capitalism was challenged by socialism. That's why Buddhism is also known as socialism of the East, or the Protestant child. Because Protestant child, you remember we discussed Christianity, Orthodox Christianity challenged by Protestants who literally transformed the world as we see today. The evolution of modern state, the 30-year war, Treaty of Westphalia, this all happened because within Christianity, Protestantism emerged. So कई बार बोला जाता है Buddhism was the Protestantism of the East, or socialism of the East, or rebellious child of Hinduism. ठीक है, the same parallel है. So remember that parallel in India's case and Western society. What happened? Communist Party, because Lenin was of the opinion कि ठीक है, कार्ल मार्क्स ने जो बोला, there is no denial that Karl Marx, whatever Karl Marx predicted is bound to be true, but it may take centuries, decades, centuries, or maybe lifetime for the working class to develop consciousness. Because Karl Marx, remember, Karl Marx never wanted a communist party, and he never talked about communist party. He talked about a revolution by the working class, suo moto, or spontaneous. When the working class will develop revolutionary consciousness, they will automatically revolt. That was his prediction. But Lenin was of the opinion that it will never happen, or it may take centuries to happen. अब ना जाने working class how much time they take to develop consciousness. So he said, why shouldn't we have a group of dedicated individual who will infuse consciousness in the working class, and that dedicated individual is known as Communist Party. Clear? So what is Communist Party? Communist Party is a collection of dedicated individuals. Dedicated to what? Dedicated to Marxism. These people will inject revolutionary consciousness in the working class. Basically, say समझिए, this is your third friend. As there are two friends, one of them make jokes about the another one. तो एक दोस्त होता है ना जो आपको आके बताता है, भाई तुम्हारी बेइज्जती हुई है. You are trying to brush aside a comment, but that friend comes and he is like, देखो यार तुम्हें समझ नहीं आ रहा, तुम्हारी बेइज्जती हो रही है. That is basically inject revolutionary consciousness so that you repel or you revolt against the other person. So that is the role of Communist Party. It is very important. Remember this. Ab Lenin founded Communist Party, the Western country got scared very much because communism की direct fight किससे है? Capitalism से. When Lenin founded Communist Party and the Western countries got a bit scared, they were like, now the communism will eat capitalism. And इसलिए if you remember, initially capitalism was very exploitative, very exploitative. इसमें the working class had no rights, and the kind of slums you see in Delhi or anywhere in India, इस तरह की factories हुआ करती थी. There used to be factories and the working class was living like a slum condition, pathetic condition, unlimited working hours, no facility whatsoever. But then socialism came, the capitalists got scared, and because of that they brought changes in capitalism, and the capitalism or liberalism transformed. It transformed from negative liberalism to positive liberalism, something you also called as modern liberalism. What's the difference? Negative liberalism, देखिए word क्या है इसमें? Negative. Negative means negation. Negation of what? Negation of state. Because what is the core of liberalism? Liberty. And what curtails liberty? Authority. So for example, you want to drive at 120 kilometers per hour on a normal road. Who will stop you? State. The state will curtail your liberty to drive as per your wishes. So according to liberals, particularly negative liberals, the starting one, or classical liberals, they propagated liberty, and they believed that any kind of authority curtails liberty. And that's why they say negation of state. They want a state like a minimum state or a watchman state. The slogan was minimum government, maximum governance. A slogan adopted by Modi ji. When he came in 2014, his slogan was abhi bhi hai, minimum government, maximum governance. Because what is neoliberalism? It's the extreme variety of negative liberalism. Okay? What is positive? As the name implies, positive. It is positive over the state. So negative liberalism negates the state because it curtails liberty. Positive liberalism praise the states because according to positive liberals, that state carry out welfare activities. So from a state which curtailed liberty, it became a state which enhances liberty by carrying out welfare activities. और ये चेंज आया क्यों? इनकी वजह से. सीधी सी बात है, when you're challenged by somebody then you reform. If you're never challenged by anybody you will never reform. जैसे एक saying है, if you have never failed in your life it means you have never tried anything beyond your capacity. When you will fail in something, when you try something beyond your capacity, you are pushing your limits. You will never fail at something that is within your capacity. So that challenge leads to the differentiation between success and failure. Same यहाँ पे. So positive liberals adopted the welfare state because of the challenge of socialism. Another thing, आपको पता होगा, initially in capitalist liberal democracies the right to vote was very curtailed. It was available only to males, that too with literacy and wealth. The criteria for voting was if you're literate, if you're wealthy, and you're male, then only you can vote. But when this challenge came, they extended right to vote to everyone. लिबरल डेमोक्रेसी में राइट टू वोट ऐसा नहीं था कि these liberals or the people develop humanity and they started treating everyone as equal. ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ. It was basically to avoid a challenge. If they would not have reformed from limited franchise to universal franchise, then the revolution may have come. So the right to vote was basically a ploy to give you a sense of empowerment. अब आपको क्या लगता है that you have a government chosen by you? अब working class को क्या लगेगा? That we don't have to revolt because we have a government which runs on our vote and we can force the government to bring changes for ourselves. इसको हम अभी आगे समझेंगे. ऐसा हुआ कभी नहीं. You have right to vote, but yet the power is still in the hands of capitalists. They control the state. यहाँ तक समझ में आया? So Lenin founded Communist Party. Communist Party's direct challenge was capitalism. Capitalism a bit reformed. Before communism, socialism से reform हो गया था from negative to positive. This all is paper one, by the way. So चलिए ठीक है. अब capitalism got scared and capitalism was like communism will eat us. And as we know, communism does not believe in कम्युनिज्म के मुताबिक नेशनलिज्म क्या है? नेशनलिज्म इज फॉल्स कॉन्शियसनेस. Why false consciousness? Because the interest of a worker in India is similar to the interest of a worker in America. The capitalist in India has a similar interest like a capitalist of America. Both want free trade, business environment, ease of doing business. A worker in India may want what? Good salary, some wages, some leisure time, some leaves. That's it. But a capitalist, so capitalist in India has similar interests like capitalists of America. The working class in India has a similar interest like working class of America. That is the slogan of communism: workers of the world unite. That is a subjective realization. If you know, when Bhagat Singh entered into Central Legislative Assembly through a bomb, he raised some slogan. So its slogans were Inqilab Zindabad and Workers of the World Unite. So remember, Bhagat Singh was a pure communist. Irony है that right-wing parties talk about Bhagat Singh more in India. The BJP, they have appropriated Bhagat Singh. जबकि Bhagat Singh was a pure communist. He even wrote a book, Why I Am an Atheist, because he was a believer of communism, and communists are atheist. They don't believe in religion because they consider religion as opium of masses. So they neither believe in religion nor they believe in nation. कैसा nation? Territorial nation. That communism believes that territorial nation was an idea concocted by whom? Capitalism to divide working class solidarity. ये हमने एक बार पहले भी समझा था. In Marxist theory of IR में we understood this. That's why Karl Marx talked about communist internationalism. So having said, because communism does not believe in nation, so there was a perception in the West. The perception was that all communist countries are one. वो कम्युनिस्ट कंट्री को अलग अलग तरीके से नहीं देखते थे. उनके हिसाब से सारी कम्युनिस्ट कंट्री एक ही होती है. बिकॉज कम्युनिज्म बिलीव ही नहीं करता नेशनहुड में। यही मैंने आपको समझाया, दिस इज द पावर ऑफ कॉमन सेंस which I told you is not real, it is manufactured by theories and ideas. So even communist countries like USSR and China fought on border 1960s mein. It was unimaginable before 1960s. The Western countries knew one thing, that communism does not believe in territorial nations. So all communist countries are basically one country. That was the reason that around 15 countries came together to form USSR. को पता है यूएसएसआर में रशिया अकेला नहीं था, there were around 15 countries more. They all came together with USSR because communism does not believe in territorial nations. ठीक है, तो please remember that. So this was the psychological warfare. This was the warfare that was going on between capitalism and communism in this era from 1997 to 45. तो चलिए एक बार को वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज टॉलरेटेड यूएसएसआर, and then आपको पता होगा when USSR was formed, it was a small country. Russia and few countries joined it. Over time, USSR expanded to include around. Over time, USSR expanded to include around. Expanded to include around 15 countries more. So capitalism got scared कि यार ये तो बढ़ता ही जा रहा है. It is spreading, keep on spreading, and it one day it can subsume the entire earth, and we will have no place to run off. So they were like, we have to curtail communism at all costs. So this is the foundation of the ideological warfare that you call Cold War. Or by 1945, आपको पता है, China also became communist. The Western country got further scared because right now, up till Chinese Revolution, they were small countries who adopted communism. But China was one of the big countries. After USSR, China became the second biggest country to adopt communism, and that worried the Western world. This challenge is becoming bigger and bigger. चलिए ये भी ठीक है. Then Stalin came into power. Lenin was substituted by Stalin. He was an absolute dictator. Absolute. Always remember, when we discuss ideological spectrum, I talked about from left to right. That's how the ideological spectrum works. When you go on the extreme right, may you find orthodox parties and you have a person standing called Hitler. Extreme right. Extreme right में you will find Hitler, and when you will go on extreme left, you will find Stalin and Mao. All these three people are mass murderers. Hitler killed millions of Jews. Mao himself killed millions of Chinese during his Cultural Revolution. Cultural Revolution basically was the idea of Karl Mao to remove all element of capitalism from Chinese society. Same thing happened during Stalin. Stalin also killed millions of people. स्टालिन के टाइम पे गुलाग्स चलते थे, गुलाग्स दैट यू कैन कॉल कंसंट्रेशन कैंप्स लाइक दैट ऑफ हिटलर. बस फर्क ये था दैट स्टालिन वाज नॉट रेसिस्ट, हिटलर वाज रेसिस्ट आल्सो, एंड दैट इज द फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम विद राइट विंग. द मोर यू गो टू द राइट, द मोर रेसिज्म बिकम्स अ कॉमन सेंस. जैसे इंडिया में व्हाट इज द स्लोगन ऑफ द राइट विंग पार्टीज? हिंदी, हिंदू, हिंदुस्तान. The argument is that in a person's motherland and a person's workland is same. V.D. Savarkar's theory, V.D. Savarkar's theory of Hindutva. Remember, Hindutva is different. Hinduism is different. Hinduism is a religion or a way of life. Hindutva is a political ideology evolved by V.D. Savarkar. ठीक है, एक सेकंड, गिव मी अ सेकंड. Just give me 5 minutes. Sorry for that. So, यहाँ तक I believe everyone understood that this was a problem that was going on, and the Stalin, when came into power, Stalin pushed communism aggressively, very aggressively, and Stalin even created something called Communist International. The purpose of Communist International was to promote communism around the world. चलिए ठीक है, सब चलता रहा चलता रहा चलता रहा. Things became bad during Second World War. अब Second World War में there were some incidents that were interpreted wrongly by both countries. Let's understand the incidents. क्या क्या हुआ था? The prime one was Project Manhattan. During the Second World War, America developed nuclear weapons, and the name was Project Manhattan. In that project, it did inform UK, France, वगैरह को. It informed that I am developing nuclear weapon. This is going on, but it did not inform Russia. So when this Project Manhattan was successful, the Russia believed that it was an attempt of America to become a superpower and deny rights to USSR. जबकि Second World War में for the first time capitalism and communism was fighting together against fascism. Fascism paper one में आपने क्या होगा? Fascism is basically a hodgepodge of ideology. It does not have proper sense. It is known more by its view. It's a view that the leader is God, something we call Ubermensch, a concept given by Friedrich Nietzsche. Ubermensch, which is uh, whose English translation you call Superman. The concept of Superman comes from Friedrich Nietzsche's Ubermensch. So fascism believes that the leader is Ubermensch. He has all the power. He is the philosopher king of the plateau. So it's a hodgepodge of ideologies, and capitalism and communism fought together against fascism, and both blame fascism for each other. Capitalist says fascism is the extreme variety of communism, जबकि communist says fascism is the extreme variety of capitalism. So fascism एक गाली प्रकार का बन गया. It's a slang nowadays. If you and everyone throw this slang to other person. Communist says you are fascist. Capitalist says you are fascist. But if you look at their working, they are neither. Fascist is a unique idea. It's a hodgepodge of ideas, some from communism, some from capitalism, some from idealism. They have made a mix, and the only thing that is prominent in fascism is leader. The leader is the central point, the Führer as you call the king, you can call them. The Führer, that is the what you call that person, क्या नाम है? Hitler. Okay. So capitalism and communism were fighting together. So Russia assumed that I am equal to America. But America developed nuclear weapon without informing Russia, and the Stalin was a bit hurt about this. चलिए कोई बात नहीं. Second point, I told you that Stalin formed Communist International. That was to promote or support communist movement around the world. It was assumed or it was seen by that capitalist country as an attempt of Stalin to subsume entire world in communism, a threat to capitalism. ठीक है. Third incidence. Stalin was on coming from the left on the eastern side to Germany, and the Allied forces was coming from the western side, known as United Nations. The United Nations word come from the alliance of Second World War of capitalist countries. So they were coming from the east. Russian soldiers were coming from the east toward Germany, and the American soldiers, including Britain, vagara, they were coming from the west toward Germany. And Stalin was in a big problem that there was too much aggression by Germany on USSR, and Stalin requested a new front by USA. Stalin forces were under stress, so he asked, "Please open a new front against fascism, so that some stress can be relieved from my side." USA took unprecedented around 2 to 3 years to open second front, and by that action, extraordinary time taken by the Western country to open second front. It was seen as a case of, it was seen by Stalin that the Western country wants that fascism eat communism. So miscalculation again. Another incident. It was pre-agreed by the communists and the capitalists that Russia will attack what? Japan. But on the contrary, they agreed first that Russia will attack Japan in the Second World War. But contrary to that, America launched nuclear weapon on Japan. America threw nuclear weapon on Japan without informing Stalin. So this attack on Japan by America using nuclear weapon, the Hiroshima Nagasaki bombing, it was seen as a case that it was seen by Stalin that America wants to deny the rightful heir or right of the basically Russia. ठीक है, तो क्लियर है, तो दिस इज ठीक है. So these were the reasons. These were the reasons which led to miscalculation, misinterpretation, and ultimately misactions. Miscalculation, misinterpretation, and lastly, misaction that initiated the Cold War in the world. And that from that start the phase one of the Cold War. Let's see the phase one. Sorry, phase two हो गया, phase one हो गया ना हमारा. The phase one, that is a pre-Cold War period, 1970 to 1945. Then come phase two, the Cold War period that starts from 1945 particularly. Let's see what happened in this, or you can call this Cold War phase one or generally phase two. The Cold War phase two, mein what happens is, in 1946 there was a person by the name of George Kennan. In world affairs, he is known as X. There was a question by the UPSC in the past years: who was Mr. X and what was his foreign policy? Nobody imagined that they will ask such kind of question, but he can nonetheless they asked. The question, this person is known as Mr. X. So he was in Russia and he sent telegram. At that point in time, telegram was sent. He sent telegram to the American president arguing that Russia is developing its power and Russia and US must counteract. So basically, he was talking about containment of Russia. He was talking about containment of Russia or USSR, United Soviet Socialist Republics. Okay, then there was same in 1946. There was Winston Churchill. Who gave something we call Fulton speech. Fulton University, he gave a speech known as Fulton speech, where he said that Russia has installed an iron curtain. What Russia has done? Russia has installed an iron curtain in the world, basically dividing the world into two parts. आपको पता होगा, after Second World War, there was a debate going on कि what kind of government setup should be in Eastern Europe. अब dispute ये था, the Western countries wanted democracy in Eastern Europe. They were like that, let the people of Eastern Europe choose what they want. But Stalin forces were present in Eastern Europe and he was like, no, I will not allow this. So he installed communism there against the wishes of the capitalist country. That is what you call Iron Curtain. And the prime example of Iron Curtain is Apka, I think I am forgetting the name of the sea. There is one Adriatic Sea in, yes, north में you have the Baltic Sea to Adriatic Sea, Baltic and North Sea. The seas that are on the northern side of the Europe is North Sea and the Baltic Sea. Yes, Adriatic and Baltic Sea. So basically, there was a division. Germany was divided into half: the Eastern Germany, the Western Germany, the Eastern Germany and Western Germany. And the prime example is the Berlin Wall, that literally divides the Berlin into two parts. So, and that is what Winston Churchill said, that USSR has installed an iron curtain from Baltic Sea to Adriatic Sea. Clear? So these two reference basically signal that yes, there are chances that the Cold War started. But most important thing that happened is this is Britain. Britain willingly, because Britain was a superpower of 19th century. It had the largest colonial empire, and it was said that the sun never set in British Empire. But it was no longer present by 1945. UK willingly gave leadership to USA. UK urged USA that we are unable to deal with the communist threat, you deal with it. Because now you are the superpower. We both are capitalist countries. We both are liberal democracies. Communism is neither of us. So why don't you take the charge? I am unable to take the charge. You take the charge. और यहीं पे change आता है. That is what we call uh, yes, Truman Doctrine. Monroe Doctrine to Truman Doctrine. Change को याद रखिएगा. The change is when UK asked America to take the leadership of the capitalist world and fight against the threat of communism. The change that came from Monroe Doctrine to Truman Doctrine. अब ये है क्या दोनों? Let's understand. Monroe Doctrine. Monroe was the president of America, of course, and Truman is also. Monroe Doctrine was adopted after the independence of America from Britain. 1776 में when Britain America got independence from Britain, so the Monroe Doctrine was installed. Monroe Doctrine says that America will not participate in world affairs. The policy of isolationism, it is known as. So Monroe Doctrine was the policy of isolationism, where the America said that I have done whatever I wanted, मैं participate नहीं करूँगा world affairs में. I will stay isolated, I will stay alone, I will develop myself without participating in world affairs. But America said that attempts by any country of the world, particularly Europe, to have colonies in Americas, Northern and South America, will be considered as an attack to American national interest, and America will repel such mean by all possibilities. What is Monroe Doctrine? It has two components. Number one, isolationism, that America will not participate in world affairs. Second, that any country, because आपको पता है Europe was capturing countries around the world. 1776 में America said that I will not tolerate the presence of any European country in my backyard. Simply saying, and if you are present in my backyard, I will use every mean available to me to throw you out from Americas. Basically, no colonialism in America. But whose colonialism? European. I can colonize. America, आपको पता भी होगा, America did colonize a large number of world. Even Philippines he colonized. For a very small period of time, America colonized a lot of countries, including Philippines. चलिए anyway, so this is called Monroe Doctrine, the policy of isolation. It was changed to Truman Doctrine. What is Truman Doctrine? Reversal of Monroe. That is active participation in world affairs. So from isolation, America adopted active participation. And why it happened? Because UK urged America to take the leadership of the capitalist world. ठीक है, यहाँ तक क्लियर? ऑनलाइन पीपल क्लियर सो फार? Fine है. Now let us see what are the actions and counter actions. So this is the initiation of the Cold War, phase 2, or the Cold War, proper Cold War. What were the action reaction things? Action, counter action, or you can say action reaction during this phase. First action reaction came in the form of Marshall Plan. What is this drama called Marshall Plan? देखिए, Marshall Plan was basically concocted by America because America assumed one thing, that communism survives in deprivation. According to America, communism is a philosophy of the weak, the unprivileged. So if you have wealth, you can never be a communist. If you are prosperous, you can never be a communist. So they believed if communism is a disease, then the medicine or the vaccine for communism is development. Under Marshall Plan, America invested billions of dollars in where? Western Europe. America invested billions of dollars in Western Europe so that there is development. And when there is development, there is prosperity. And where there is prosperity, communism cannot take the roots. That was the logic of America. But nonetheless, it worked out. अब रिएक्शन के फॉर्म में तो होना ही था. The reaction came Molotov plan. The reaction was Molotov plan launched by USSR. USSR said to the European Eastern European countries and the Asia particularly, that you do not have to take the help of Marshall Plan. You do not have to take money from America. I will provide you money. So that is, known as Molotov Plan. So they launched Marshall Plan. In counter to that, Russia launched Molotov Plan. Another action reaction. USA started an organization by the name NATO. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that was created by the Washington Treaty in 1950. It was created, and we know what kind of thing it is. It is a collective. What is it? Collective what? What is the philosophy of NATO? Collective? Yes, collective defense. It was a collective defense pact. It was challenged. Reaction to आना ही था, and the reaction came in the form of Warsaw Pact. So for every action of America, there was a counter reaction by Russia, basically. Another thing that happened was Baruch Plan. Baruch Plan we will discuss again in nuclear weapons. In the last chapter, the global international concerns में, we will talk about nuclear weapons. वहाँ पे दोबारा बात करेंगे. So Baruch Plan was an idea of America because both USSR and America were in a arms race. America thought if we keep on developing so many nuclear weapons, then there is something we call in nuclear weapons known as nuts, nuclear utilization threats. हमने करा था, अगर आपको याद हो, when we did nuclear weapons में वहां पर nuts करा था, that is accidental use of nuclear weapons. तो अब बहुत देखिए ऑब्वियसली बात है, if you have too many weapons you can accidentally use one of them. जैसे हमारे केस में हुआ था, अगर आपको पता हो, ब्रह्मोस. BrahMos is a cruise missiles developed by India. It's a non-nuclear missile. It cannot carry nuclear weapons. It is jointly developed by India and Russia. ठीक है, ब्रह्मपुत्र एंड मोस्टोव समथिंग का नाम है रशिया की रिवर का. फ्रॉम दैट इट बिकेम ब्रह्मोस. अब व्हाट हैपेंड, आपको पता होगा, 1 year बैक इट वाज फायर्ड accidentally. It was fired from the Indian territory to the Pakistani territory accidentally. हमने फ्री में उन्हें टेक्नोलॉजी दे दी. देखिए, nobody gives their technology. अगर आपको पता हो, when America went into Pakistan to kill Osama bin Laden, one of their chopper crashed. They bombed that chopper. because समझिए, that's a critical technology. You cannot give a critical technology to another country, that is your enemy country, for free. अब हमने क्या करा, हमने फ्री में दे दी. because BrahMos was launched from India, it dropped into, thank God उसमें कोई warhead नहीं लगा हुआ था. Then otherwise there could be an explosion in Pakistan and it could be a declaration of war. Accidental use था. There was a court of inquiry and the defense minister in parliament said sorry to Pakistan. Literally he said sorry. India rarely said sorry to Pakistan, but we did said कि हमसे गलती हो गई. It was an accidental drop. We had no intention of dropping that cruise missiles on you. It was accidentally drop. जो officers involved थे, they all were terminated from the services. वो एक अलग बात है. But nonetheless, this shows. Imagine करिए अगर उस ब्रह्मोस पे एक nuclear weapon लगा होता फिर. If there was a nuclear warhead in the BrahMos, then it could have exploded. So it could have become second Hiroshima Nagasaki. हो सकता था. वो तो अच्छा है कि BrahMos nuclear capable है नहीं. वरना it was a big problem. That was Baruch plan. तो Baruch plan का idea ये था. It was proposed by America. The idea was that we are developing too many nuclear weapons, and even if one of them is fired by accident, because human errors are everywhere, हो सकता है कोई गलती से हो जाए. In that scenario, it will be a nuclear annihilation of the world. पर उसमें कंडीशन अमेरिका ने बड़ी अजीब रखी. अमेरिका ने बोला that first USSR will remove nuclear weapons, then it will be verified, then I will remove nuclear weapons. And USSR was like, पहले तुम क्यों नहीं? USSR was like, मैं तुम्हें विश्वास नहीं करता. First you remove nuclear weapon, then I will. जबकि अमेरिका proposed in Baruch plan, first you remove, then I will. So basically, Baruch plan was a failure. It was not agreed by anyone. But anyway, this is your phase one. Phase one of action and counteraction. America launched defense pact or Russia launched defense pact. America launched a welfare activity to Russia launched welfare activity. That kept on happening. ठीक है. अब what was the तो we have seen phase one की starting हमने देखी. Two event, George Cannon, who is known as Mr. X, and Winston Churchill Fulton speech. We saw the action reaction part. Ab now let us see the events in phase one. What were the events of phase one? The primary event that happened is, we know, the Berlin blockade. सबसे पहला event था. Berlin blockade. Because Russia was present in the Eastern Europe, particularly Eastern Berlin, so Russia blocked access between Western Berlin and Eastern Berlin. People could not move from here to there. That was not the problem. The problem was the resources, the critical food, water things. They could not be transferred from the Western Europe or the Western Berlin to the Eastern Berlin, or the Western Germany to the Eastern Germany. However, it was not successful because America airlifted. You block road, you can block roads only ना. अब air कहाँ से block करोगे? So America airlifted the aid to the eastern side, so it proved to be a failure. But nonetheless, USSR tried. Next main event happened. We know victory of communism in China. Next event happened, Korean War. मैंने इसलिए आपको बताया from 1945 to 1991. America and USSR were the party of every event. Every event में दो पार्टी हमेशा होती थी on opposite side. अब Korean War में you have two parties, North Korea and South Korea. There was a war going on between the north segment and the south segment. उस समय it was not defined. उस समय territory इनके बीच में defined नहीं थी. So North Korea was supported, of course, the North Korean side पे you have the Communist Party, which was supported by China and USSR. South में you had a liberal party supported by USA and the Western countries. So this war was going on. However, this war could come to a standstill. एक चीज हमेशा अभी भी याद रखिएगा, दिस वॉर हैज नॉट एंडेड येट. अभी भी ये वॉर चल रहा है, बट इट केम टू अ स्टैंड स्टिल बाय एन आर्मिस्टिक ट्रीटी. Armistice means weapon control treaty or weapon cessation treaty, peace treaty. It was a treaty that was agreed and imposed by United Nations. So United Nations passed a resolution, United Nations Security Council passed a resolution dividing North Korea into two parts, dividing Korea into two parts, North Korea and South Korea, establishing a buffer zone in between that is still in continuance. अभी भी वो चले. जैसे if you remember जम्मू कश्मीर केस में it was a ceasefire. Initially when Nehru took this issue to the UN ordered a ceasefire. उसी तरह का ceasefire यहाँ पे हुआ था और ये अभी भी चल रहा है. So remember, the Korean War has not ended yet, but nonetheless, it is on a ceasefire since 19, I think 56 या something में हुई थी एंड ये 53 में. चलिए anyway, अगला वियतनाम वॉर. नेक्स्ट इवेंट वाज वियतनाम. सेम इशू. वियतनाम में नॉर्दर्न साइड पे यू हैड द कम्युनिस्ट एंड द सदर्न साइड पे यू हैड द डेमोक्रेटिक्स. एंड ऑफ कोर्स कौन कैसे सपोर्ट कर रहा आप गैस कर सकते हैं. द नॉर्दर्न पीपल वर सपोर्टेड बाय द चाइना एंड रशिया एंड द सदर्न पीपल वर सपोर्टेड बाय द यूएसए। यहाँ पे यूएसए का डिफीट हो गया। अब फर्क क्या आया, फर्क समझते हैं। यूएसए वाज वेरी सक्सेसफुल इन यूरोप, बट व्हेन इट रीच्ड टू एशिया इट वाज नॉट सक्सेसफुल। वियतनाम वॉर यूएसए की सबसे बड़ी डिफीट मानी जाती है, वियतनाम वॉर। बिकॉज अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंस हियर, American soldiers were present in Vietnam on the order of their president. Vietnamese were fighting for their land. Vietnamese के फर्क दोनों में क्या है? America, superpower, soldier, having all the equipment you can imagine of its time. Even America used chemical weapon, Agent Orange, in Vietnam War, and America was directly present. Because it was a understanding of America from previous experiences that America cannot depend ऑन आर्टिफिशियल हेल्प, पर्टिकुलरली इन चाइना। चाइना में दो फैक्शन थे आपके पास, केएमटी पार्टी एंड कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी। केएमटी पार्टी वर्सेस कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ चाइना। कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ चाइना लेड बाय माओ जेडोंग। केएमटी पार्टी वाज इन पावर, कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी चैलेंज केएमटी पार्टी। That was the challenge going on, and ultimately KMT party was supported, of course, by the Western countries. They provided fund and everything because it was a liberal democratic party. Communist party को support कर ही नहीं सकते थे. But nonetheless, Communist Party won in China. That led to a understanding in the West, particularly America, that we cannot depend on these people. If we have to contain, if we have to contain communism, then we have to go for aggressive containment of communism. बात समझ में आया? Initially they tried by giving fund and weapons. It did not work out. China में particularly. So अगली बार उन्होंने गलती रिपीट नहीं करी। वियतनाम वॉर में अमेरिका सेंड इट्स सोल्जर्स ऑन द ग्राउंड, पहले नहीं करे थे। Because America was like, I should not send my soldiers on the ground. It may be a direct flashpoint between USSR and me. पर यहाँ पे उसने बोला ये तो हद्दी हो गई यार, कोरिया में हो गया, चाइना में हो गया, इट इज इंक्रीजिंग एवरीवेयर। सो दे आर लाइक नहीं, ये नहीं चलेगा, आई विल गो फॉर एक्टिव कंटेनमेंट। I will not provide money. I will send my soldiers directly to the warfare. But फिर भी अमेरिका lost the Vietnam War, the humiliating defeat. And इसमें फर्क आपको समझना पड़ेगा that वियतनाम में the people of Vietnam were fighting against an aggressor called America. Whatever America's interest was not important. The important thing is that American soldiers were present on the Vietnam soil on the orders of their president. Vietnamese were fighting for their motherland. They knew if we lose this war, we will lose the nation. So the component of, you can say, uh, the emotional component was very higher in Vietnamese. आप ये चीज नोटिस करना, often people fight very aggressively for their land rather than somebody else's land. जैसे मान लेते you are a soldier in the Indian army. So if somebody enters into the Indian territory, you will give up your life, you will fight like hell. But if Indian government send you, for example, to negotiate a peace deal in Korea, you will not take interest. You will take interest because your prime minister has ordered you. You will go there, you will try to negotiate, but आपका कोई incentive नहीं है। ऐसा नहीं है कि वो नहीं हुआ तो आप मर जाओगे। आपके कहेंगे मरे मेरे जाने। You will go there because your prime minister has ordered you. You will go there, you will try to negotiate, but even if there is an outcome or there is no outcome, आपका personal कुछ नहीं जाता उसमें। So this is the problem. Understand, the American soldiers were present in the Vietnam War on the order of the President of America. They did not have that emotional attachment. उनके हिसाब से it was a warfare on order. उनको उस अगर वो वियतनाम जीते हारे से अमेरिकन सोल्जर्स को कोई मतलब नहीं था। अमेरिका को होगा, सोल्जर्स को नहीं था। पर वियतनामीज अलग थे। वियतनामीज वर फाइटिंग फॉर देयर लैंड एंड दे वर लाइक इफ वी लूज दिस वॉर वी विल लूज द कंट्री। So the emotional component, the valor component was very high on Vietnam. And that's how Vietnam could defeat a superpower. तो वियतनाम वॉर से एक बात हम समझ सकते हैं, that human will is more dominant than anything in this world. आपके पास कितने भी weapons हो, कुछ भी हो, you cannot dominate human will. सोचिए you used a chemical weapon here, Agent Orange. इससे ज्यादा कहाँ जाओगे? Chemical weapon, biological weapon and nuclear weapon are known as weapons of mass destruction. You used WMD in Vietnam War, yet you lost. Anyway, जो भी हुआ, Vietnam became communist. तो अमेरिका फिर परेशान, ये तो हद ही पार हो रही है। क्लियर दीज इवेंट्स, ऑनलाइन पीपल क्लियर? ठीक है, तो प्लीज याद रखिएगा, दिस इज द पॉलिसी ऑफ एक्टिव कंटेनमेंट और मैसिव रिटेलिएशन यू कैन कॉल इट, एंड डोमिनो इफेक्ट। यहाँ पे दो थ्योरी थी। There were two theories in Vietnam: active containment और massive retaliation and domino effect. डोमिनो इफेक्ट का नोट्स में है, आप पढ़ लेना। डोमिनो इफेक्ट का मतलब क्या होता है? डोमिनो इफेक्ट मींस दैट according to America, if one country adopt communism, all the countries in the neighbor of that country will adopt communism. That is called domino theory. जैसे आपने देखा होगा ना, you may have seen that video, there are a lot of tiles, small tiles, and you push one tile, all tiles fall in the, that is called domino effect. So that is what it is. That if one country adopt communism, means if one tile fall, it will lead to the falling of all the tiles in the pattern. So domino effect means if you adopt communism, then the countries in your neighborhood will adopt communism. And to contain that, America launched policy of active containment or massive retaliation. Logic ये था that I will go for direct intervention, but it failed in Vietnam. We know this. अब, so this we have understood phase one, sorry, phase two, the Cold War phase one and overall phase two. In this, we have understood some reaction, counter reaction, some events, and the change of philosophy from Monroe Doctrine to Truman Doctrine. अब देखते हैं what happened. The starting of phase three, known as détente phase. Détente, it's a French term which means ease of tension. It does not mean good relation. It means easing of tension. French phrase, easing of tension. अब ये हुआ क्यों? 1962. 1962 में there was Cuban Missile Crisis. What was this crisis? I hope you remember we discussed this once more. कोई बता सकता है हमने कहाँ डिस्कस किया है इससे पहले? Where we have discussed Cuban Missile Crisis? Anyone? Deterrence? नहीं. We have discussed this, if you remember. हाँ, it's a deterrence phenomena, but we discussed Cuban Missile Crisis in detail. If you remember, the games theory में chicken game. ठीक है? सो क्यूबन मिसाइल क्राइसिस में हमें पहले से पता है, हमने चिकन गेम में समझा था. देयर वाज मिसाइल प्लेस्ड इन क्यूबा बाय यूएसएसआर in a retaliation to the missiles placed, nuclear missiles placed by US in Turkey. टर्की उस समय में प्रो कैपिटलिज्म था, बिकॉज कमाल मुस्तफा पासा abolished the क्या बोलते हैं कैलिफेट सिस्टम. जैसे Christianity has Pope, Islam has Caliphate. Same, the religious leader basically. Caliphate system was abolished. So anyway, at that point of time, Turkey was a bit pro-capitalism and pro-West. So that is what it was going on. America placed nuclear-capable missiles in Turkey, and so as a retaliation, USA placed nuclear-capable missiles in Cuba, the America's backyard. And there was a fear in Cuban Missile Crisis that the world can lead to nuclear annihilation. And then the chicken games comes into play, and ultimately after this they started easing the tension. So 1962 you can say is the point that from which detente phase starts, but it was a very short lived phase. कब तक चला ये? 1962 से 1979. इसके बीच में बहुत से इवेंट हुए. समझते क्या क्या इवेंट हुए? 1979 आपको पर्टिकुलरली पता है, द इन्वेजन ऑफ यूएसएसआर इन अफगानिस्तान. सो 1945 से स्टार्ट होता है आपका कोल्ड वॉर, विच कंटिन्यूज अंटिल फेज वन, the phase first of the Cold War continues until 1962 when Cuban Missile Crisis happened and the Detente phase start, relaxation of tension. A lot of agreements were signed during this time with respect to अगर आपको पता हो कुछ agreement जैसे NPT हमने discuss किया हुआ है नहीं किया ना अभी शायद NPT we will do later. Last chapter में NPT. Non-proliferation treaty. It aims to control the nuclear weapons. NPT came into existence. CTBT and other ideas came into existence. And Council of Europe came into existence. Today it is known as, it was initially known as Organization. Now it is known as Council for Security and Cooperation in Europe. The purpose of this council is to develop common relation, or you can say uh, cordial relation between European members. So ये कोल्ड वॉर के टाइम पे बनाई हुई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन थी. इट वाज नो टुडे इट इज नोन एज काउंसिल फॉर सिक्योरिटी एंड कोऑपरेशन इन यूरोप टू प्रमोट व्हाट coordination cooperation in the entire Europe, including the communist and the capitalist segment. Nonetheless, कुछ important वर्ड समझते हैं. In 1960s, इससे पहले क्या थिंकिंग थी वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में, that all communist countries are one. वो थिंकिंग बदली because 1960s में there was a war between USSR वर्सेस चाइना. आप वॉर तो नहीं कहेंगे, यू कैन से इट इज वाज अ बॉर्डर स्क्रिमिश. देयर वाज सम तू मैमे ऑन बॉर्डर, simply stating. So in this scenario, USSR captured some territory. So USSR and China fought on the borderline, thinking that whose border is this. Of course, China was no match to USSR. USSR defeated China. But जब ये वॉर हो गई तब फिलोसफी बदल गई. क्योंकि उससे पहले what was the philosophy of America? That all communist countries are one because they do not believe in territorial nations. But 1960s war was a conclusive proof that no, even though communism may not talk about territorial nations, but all communist countries are not one. And after this war, China, America started its policy known as ping pong diplomacy. It comes from Chanakya. What was Chanakya or Kautilya has said? Enemy's enemy is your friend. So who is the biggest enemy of America during 1960s? USSR. And USSR and China fought on a border. जैसे मैंने आपको example बताया, you like somebody very much and that person is with somebody else, so you wait for the right time. The right time is the second they have a fight, you are there to take that person away. That's how it works. So they were together, they had a fight, and America was like, this is the best time to put in, to get inside. And how it got inside? It started ping pong diplomacy to reach China. It started improving relation. For the first time after the Chinese Civil War or so-called revolution, America recognized China as a country in 1971. से पहले recognize नहीं किया था अमेरिका ने. America always recognized Taiwan as the true China. It never recognized Communist Party of China and the People's Republic of China. But in 1971 में it recognized People's Republic of China as a proper China. Change of policy. क्यों हुआ? इसलिए नहीं कि America developed a heart or something else happened. ये इसलिए हुआ because America thought I should take China with me against USSR. That was the reason. So a problem here, you want to reach to that person, the couple who had a fight, and you just get inside to get that person out. You don't want to reach that person directly because you may appear needy. So what you will do? You will find a common friend. A common friend will introduce to that person you want. यहाँ पे वो common friend कौन बना? Pakistan. So this is the story of Bangladesh war. So Bangladesh war में there were two segments. On one side you had, Dennis, you are writing something. अच्छा इसमें दिखा रहा था. Okay. So ping pong diplomacy. So Pakistan, America approached Pakistan because America did not want to approach China very directly. America approached Pakistan to approach to China. Why Pakistan? Because China and Pakistan have always had a very deep and true relationship. They often say that Pakistan make phrase hai that Pakistan and China's relationship is deeper than the seas and the higher than the mountains. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Please remember, nobody loves Pakistan and nobody loves China. Nobody loves India. International relations में only thing that everyone loves is interest. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. जिस दिन let's suppose India and China becomes friend, उस दिन China will throw Pakistan out like a like a fly in the coffee or tea. कोई किसी का दोस्त नहीं है इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन में. एवरीथिंग इज इंटरेस्ट. So nonetheless, Pakistan and China enjoys a very deep friendship, and the glue that keeps Pakistan and China together is India. So in Pakistan is with China because of India. अब ये बात यूएस को पता थी, तो यूएस वाज लाइक, व्हाई शुडंट आई गो टू पाकिस्तान फर्स्ट. पाकिस्तान को इट अप्रोच्ड, थ्रू पाकिस्तान इट अप्रोच चाइना, एंड द न्यू एक्सिस इन द वर्ल्ड, बांग्लादेश वॉर 1971. By 1971, the world was divided into two parts, particularly from India's perspective. The segment was Pakistan, USA, and China. And on the other side, you had India and USSR. So this was the equation of 1971. Clear everyone why it happened, what happened? ठीक है. अब बाकी कुछ और इवेंट है, आप देख लेना. दिस वाज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट वन. फ्रॉम 1979 स्टार्ट द न्यू फेज known as the new Cold War. अब let's see the year 1979. Very important year. From today's politics, जो previous year थे, they were not relevant. Today, the only year that is relevant for today's politics is 1979. 1979 में तीन इवेंट हुए, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट इवेंट है, तीनों इंपॉर्टेंट है. However, we are discussing Cold War, तो हमारा का एक पार्ट कोल्ड वॉर का, बाकी दो पार्ट अलग है, but I am telling you nonetheless, so as to maintain the clear timeline. So far we have seen from timeline what happened, why it happened. अब तीन इवेंट हुए 1979 में simultaneously in the same year. One is known as Camp. One is known as Camp David Accord. It is not the part of Cold War, but I'm telling you nonetheless. Camp David Accord was signed, in which for the first time a, an you can say Arab country, Egypt, recognized Israel. We will do this Arab-Israeli drama in Middle East. Second section में. So Camp David Accord. Camp David is a place where the American president often visit there. So Camp David Accord में, for the first time, a Muslim country recognized Israel. Very significant achievement. The current counterpart of Camp David Accord are known as Abraham Accords. Recent में sign हुए. We will discuss them later. Second most important event of 1979, Iranian Revolution. अब देखिए Iranian Revolution को समझिए, then you can understand. And the third event was invasion of Afghanistan by USSR. So these are the three most important events of 1979, और all these three events influence even today. जिसमें से ये तो relevant है only in context of Cold War. Let's understand all second event, Iranian warfare. Iranian Revolution में there were two parties. On the one side you had Pahlavi dynasty. Pahlavi dynasty, and the Shah of Iran was in power. And I told you, monarchy Middle East में America often love monarchy in Middle East. The Shah of Iran of the Pahlavi dynasty was supported by USA. Against Shah of Iran, there was a revolution, a democratic revolution in Iran. So versus democratic revolutionary. यहाँ पे एक चीज आप समझिएगा, the kind, if I say American woman, when I say this phrase, the kind of woman that comes into your mind, a woman have wearing the particular kind of clothes, going on the beach, having the sunbathe and everything. जिस तरह का दिमाग आपके, when I say an American woman, the kind of woman you imagine, such kind of people were found in Iran. Iran was not oppressive the way it is today, because Shah of Iran was favored by USA, a puppet, you can say. And of course, America is a liberal country, a liberal democratic country. So it imposed modernity in Iran. The Shah of Iran was imposing modernity in Iran. There was complete liberty. कोई बुरखा उरखा कुछ नहीं होता था ईरान में. It was full liberty and the kind of America you can imagine. अगर मैं अमेरिका बोलूं, 1960s अमेरिका, तो जिस तरह का अमेरिका आपके दिमाग में आएगा, उस तरह का ईरान हुआ करता था. Very modern, very prosperous. But nonetheless, a democratic revolution came. The Shah of Iran was removed from power. There's a problem with democracy. The problem is, देखिए, democracy provides you power to choose your leader. And democracy में simple सा rule है, you get the leader you deserve. So if people are backward, they will choose a backward leader. If you're a progressive person, believe in science, rationality, so you will choose a leader who is a science and rational. If you're a backward person believing in culture, religion, so you will choose a religious party in power. अब democratic revolution में क्या हुआ? It was forward in terms of politics, because from a monarchy we changed to democracy, but it was backward culturally. So remember two aspects of Iranian revolution. It was forward politically and it was backward culturally, because from a modern society they moved to Islamic society, imposed burqa, imposed sharia, ये सब ड्रामे हो गए. So politically it was forward and socially it was backward. That is your Iranian revolution. अब आते हैं यहाँ पे अफगानिस्तान. अफगानिस्तान में देखिए, दैट्स व्हाट आई से. तो इस केस में आप कह सकते हैं ना, अमेरिका वाज अ बिट गुड फॉर ईरान. बट अब यहाँ पे आते हैं, मैंने आपको हमेशा बताया, नथिंग इज परमानेंट एंड नोबडी लव्स एनीथिंग. यहाँ पे इसका एग्जैक्ट उल्टा था. कैसे उल्टा था? अफगानिस्तान में देवर टू पार्टी, द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ अफगानिस्तान which had communist leanings and the Mujahideens. So here, the two parties were the Shah of Iran, supported by USA, the Democratic Revolutionaries, supported by USSR. Basically, they were, of course, they loved this revolution change. यहाँ पे opposite side थी. The government was communist, supported by USSR, and the Mujahideens, which I told you earlier also. These were raised by Pakistan. Pakistan raised this Mujahideen. In the Mujahideen literally means the fighter of Islam or Allah. These were the people raised by Pakistan on behest of USA, because USA knew Russian soldiers are present in Afghanistan. If I invade Afghanistan directly, then there will be a direct fight between Russia and USA, and it will lead to nuclear warfare and ultimately annihilation of the world. So America could not take the risk of getting into Afghanistan, but it found another way. It supported insurgency. It supported insurgency of अफगानिस्तान. अब सपोर्ट कैसे करा, मैंने शायद पहले बताया होगा. वाई मुजाहिदीन, मुजाहिदीन वर्ड ही क्यों रखा? कुछ और भी रख सकते थे. मुजाहिदीन इसलिए रखा बिकॉज इस्लाम में मैंने आपको बताया, इस्लाम ऑफर्स थ्री ऑप्शंस. either you adopt Islam if you're non-Muslim, either you adopt Islam, be killed, or pay tax to practice your religion. But for kafir, the non-believer, Islam is very clear: kill them. Very clear that the only option for the kafirs is death. Same Christianity में भी rule है. अब nonetheless, Mujahideens were raised. These were the Muslim people who were radicalized by the politics of the time, and they were told that you are not fighting against USSR, you are fighting against kafir. You're not fighting against communists, or you're not fighting against a country, you're fighting against communists. These people are atheists. और आप इस्लामिक हो, यू आर बोर्न मुस्लिम एंड यू हैव इम्बाइब मुस्लिम कल्चर, तो आपकी नजर में वो एथिस्ट क्या है? द बिगेस्ट सिनर. धर्म के नाम पे इनको उकसाया गया, लेकिन राजनीति थी ये. They were excited in the name of religion, but it was politics nonetheless. They were raised only for one purpose, to have insurgency against USSR. अब देखिए, a country called USA supporting a modern autocracy, a modern society here supporting a backward society here. यहाँ पे the kind of same case था. The kind of liberty that you can imagine in America, in Iran during Shah of Iran, same was available here. Because communists do not believe in religion. So why would they impose Sharia or something? They had all the liberties. The women of Afghanistan enjoyed any liberty that you can imagine. Same kind of liberties. But यहाँ पे America is supporting a backward force. और यहाँ पे America was supporting a forward force. So that is what you understand. This example एक बात simple समझाता है. International relation में everyone is a criminal and everyone is a saint. Everyone is a Satan, everyone is a God, and everyone has some, you can say, some history which they may not be very proud of, but nonetheless nobody cares. Clear? So these are the three most important event of 1971. हमारे लिए कोल्ड वॉर के लिए केवल ये वाला हिस्सा है, ये वाला नहीं है, बट आई हैव टोल्ड यू बिकॉज दे आर लिंक टू दिस इवेंट. अब देखिए तीनों इवेंट में वन इवेंट इज सक्सेसफुल फॉर अमेरिका, other event is also success. It was a disaster for America. It was again disaster, but nonetheless this phase ended by 1989. Short lived. The new Cold War was a short lived phase. By 1989 the Cold War ended with the fall of the Berlin Wall, and by 1991 USSR disintegrated, and the end. Clear? ऑनलाइन पीपल यहाँ तक पूरी हिस्ट्री क्लियर है, द कोल्ड वॉर फेजेस. चलिए, सो दिस इज योर कोल्ड वॉर. अब वी विल डू पोस्ट कोल्ड वॉर वर्ल्ड. ठीक है, पोस्ट कोल्ड वॉर हम स्टार्ट करेंगे, टाइम हमारा हो गया है. वी विल स्टार्ट टुमारो द पोस्ट कोल्ड वॉर वर्ल्ड, वे वी विल अंडरस्टैंड पहली चीज, हु वाज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ यूएसएसआर. क्या रीजंस रहे, कौन रिस्पॉन्सिबल रहा. देन वी विल अंडरस्टैंड द न्यू वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर आफ्टर कोल्ड वॉर. कैसा वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर इमर्ज हुआ है, इन विच वी विल डू न्यूमरस थ्योरी टिल टुडे, इंक्लूडिंग द राइज ऑफ राइट विंग टुडे. क्यों राइज हो रहे हैं, सॉफ्ट डिक्टेटर्स क्यों राइज हो रहे हैं, व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम. चलिए, so that all we will do tomorrow, huh? Bye bye then, have a nice day. We will meet again tomorrow. Go revise. If you find anything you are unable to understand, please tell me. Bye bye.